Welcome. I am Dr. Pradeep Kumar Mahata. Today, we're diving into an absolute masterpiece, Charles Dickens' David Copperfield. It's this incredible story about a boy's journey to, become the hero of his own life. So, before we jump in, there's something you have to know about this book. It's what's called a semi-autobiographical novel. Dickens himself called it his favorite child, and for good reason. So much of David's story, especially, the really tough parts of his childhood, is pulled straight from Dickens' own life. It's this powerful mix of fiction that's just absolutely fueled by real-life struggle. All right, here's how we're going to break down his journey. First up, a pretty harsh beginning. Then his escape to a new life. We'll get into his first love and ambitions, see how a huge storm converges on his world, and finally, how he becomes the hero of his own life. Okay, Section 1, a harsh beginning. So, we start out with our main character, David Copperfield. He's born in this little village, Blunderstone, but his father has already passed away. For a little while, though, life is pretty sweet. It's just him, his kind mother, Clara, and their amazing housekeeper, Peggotty. But yeah, that idyllic little life, it doesn't last. It gets completely shattered when his mom remarries. Her new husband is this cold, controlling guy, Mr. Murdstone, and he brings his sister along, who's just as awful, to basically run the house and make everyone's life miserable. So the Murdstones show up and everything becomes about this super harsh, rigid discipline. One day, during a really brutal beating from his stepfather, David is so scared that he bites Mr. Murdstone's hand. And oh boy, that one act of defiance, that's it. His punishment is swift and severe, locked in his room for 5 days and then shipped off to this horrible boarding school called Salem House. And at Salem House, it's just one humiliation after another. The headmaster forces David to wear a sign that literally says, "He bites," for everyone to see. Just awful. But, even in a place this dark, he does find some friends. He meets the super charismatic James Steerforth and the really kind Tommy Traddles. You think things can't get any worse, right? Well, they do. David gets called home from school only to find out that his mother and his baby brother have died. And the Murdstones? No sympathy whatsoever. Instead, at just 10 years old, they sent him off to work in a London bottling warehouse. It's just tedious, soul-crushing work. All right, on to Section 2, Escape to a New Life. So David has pretty much hit rock bottom, and this is where he decides, you know what? Enough is enough. It's the first time he really takes his life into his own hands and gambles on a new beginning. He has this one last hope, this one person he can think of, his great aunt, a woman named Miss Betsy Trotwood. So he runs away. He literally walks all the way to Dover, which is a huge journey, to try and find her. And it pays off. His Aunt Betsy takes him in, fends off the Murdstones when they show up, and basically gives him a second chance at a real childhood. Look at the difference here. She sends him to a new school, Dr. Strong's, which is the complete opposite of Salem House. Instead of cruelty, he gets kindness. Instead of humiliation, he gets respect. It's a whole new world for him. And in this new life in Canterbury, he meets some really key people. He lives with his aunt's lawyer, Mr. Wickfield, and his wonderful daughter, Agnes. She becomes this guide for David, his good angel. But there's also someone else lurking around, Mr. Wickfield's clerk, a really unsettling guy named Uriah Heep, who is always talking about how humble he is. Yeah, keep an eye on him. Okay, so let's move on to Section 3, First Love and Ambition. David is growing up. He's entering the world as a young man, and he is full of idealism. So what does he do? He decides to become a proctor, which is a kind of lawyer. He reconnects with his old school friend, the charismatic James Steerforth. He even visits his old housekeeper, Peggy's family. And then he meets Dora Spenlow. And bam, he's instantly, completely head over heels in love. He's just totally captivated.
So this quote, it's a bit strange, right? A caul is this membrane some babies are born with, and there was this old superstition that it meant you couldn't drown. For David, it's a sign that his life is special, fated, and he sees Dora as his destiny. He even calls her his child wife, which, yeah, it shows how much he adores her, but it also tells you a lot about her immaturity, and maybe his too. And here we go, Section 4, The Converging Storm. Just when everything seems to be going so well for David, things start to fall apart. All these different plot threads start weaving together, and it is not going to be pretty. It happens fast. It's just one devastating blow after another. First, betrayal. His so-called friend, Steerforth, runs off with Emily from the Peggotty family, just completely disgracing her. Then, ruin. That snake Uriah Heep finally makes his move and financially ruins David's aunt. And then, the ultimate loss. David's wife, his beloved Dora, gets sick and dies. His world just comes crashing down. And what's so brilliant here is that as all this tragedy is happening inside David, Dickens creates a literal storm outside. A massive tempest, just this violent storm, starts raging off the coast of Yarmouth, and there's a ship getting wrecked out in the waves. It's just chaos. Emily's fiancé, Ham, tries to be a hero. He goes out into the storm to save someone from that shipwreck, but he drowns trying. And when David sees the body of the man Ham was trying to save, he realizes it's Steerforth. He perished. Just an absolutely tragic end. And that brings us to our final section, the hero of his own life. After all that, after hitting absolute rock bottom, David has to find a way to rebuild and finally find his purpose. And piece by piece, things